Hey guys, Ronan Reaper here. So it's Saturday, and as you can see, it is pissing it down. Prime cinema going weather. And I'm going to be in it for the long one. I'm about to head in to see one battle after another. Yes, the new Paul Thomas Anderson film. This does look good. Trailers look very, very interesting. You know, it looks to be a bit of a timely action epic, with the bonus of apparently pissing off MAGA. So, you know, instantly a win in my book. Yeah, really looking forward to watching this and hearing nothing but great things. I got my fingers crossed it'll live up to the hype. But the only way to find out is to head in, get some snacks, and get seated for one battle after another. Absolute banger right there. So I've got my popcorn here and a Coca-Cola, in keeping with the film's California setting, ready for what should be a timely action epic. So, one battle after another. I'm back from seeing it. This is written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and is loosely based on the novel Vineland by Thomas Pynchon. Anderson has previously adapted Pynchon with Inherent Vice, but obviously this one is being sold as a more commercially accessible prospect, obviously with an emphasis on action spectacle. But even with that, the hype around this thing has been insane. You know, it's been, universally glowing reviews, awards buzz, some labeling it a Best Picture frontrunner, some even going as far as to call this thing an all-timer. And so, yeah, naturally, I went into this thing very, very excited. But is this a modern action epic that lives up to the hype? Let's find out. So the film follows Bob Ferguson, a washed-up ex-revolutionary, once a member of a group known as the French 75. He now lives off the grid in the sanctuary city of Backtown Cross with his teenage daughter Willa, in a constant drug-fueled state of paranoia. One day, danger comes a-knocking at Bob's door when Willa disappears, as an old enemy of his, Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw, resurfaces. And so, Bob finds himself in a race against time to rescue Willa before Lockjaw can get to her, while Willa is also forced to confront the truth about her mother, French 75 member Perfidia Beverly Hills. Gotta address the obvious here, in that to bring the film to life, Paul Thomas Anderson was given his biggest ever budget, I believe $130 million, blockbuster level stuff, and honestly, it is an investment that paid off big time, because holy shit, this film is fucking incredible. Everything you've been hearing about it, all the hype, believe it, because this is a film that delivers the goods. The film runs at a pretty massive 2 hours 41 minutes, and it's a testament to how good the film is that it does not feel it, because it just flies by. The pacing is fantastic. It hooks you right from minute one, throwing you right into the French 75 and their cause in a very, very strong prologue. And yet, when it picks up many years later for the main story, it does not miss a beat. Seriously, I think this is a rare film that actually does earn its long running time, because not a second of it is filler, and it has a constant sense of momentum throughout, enhanced by a suspenseful piano score from Johnny Greenwood, and its share of thrilling action set pieces, whether it be the French 75's explosive missions or chaos on the streets of Backtown Cross, and even the sort of various scrapes Bob finds himself in on his mission to rescue his daughter. It is thrillingly done, and honestly, I'd love to see Anderson direct more action like this in the future because he really excels at it. But honestly, referring to this just as an action movie feels almost a little bit reductive because beneath that thrilling surface, the film has some frighteningly relevant messages. Obviously, our sort of eye into this world is a left wing revolutionary group who, fight against the oppression of the system. But, they're not painted in this sort of glowing, rosy light either. They are flawed people, and the film doesn't shy away from that. At the same time, it has some pretty scathing critiques of the far right, obviously particularly calling out these white supremacist groups who, believe themselves to be superior and of a higher calling, while also calling, marginalized groups, savages and dirt, It also, is a pretty, strong critique of, of like sort of ICE, sort of militarized violence towards like immigrant groups. Yeah, it is, again, very scary how timely it is, but at the same time, Anderson also weaves in humor quite cleverly. But also, yeah, I can see why MAGA are pissed off at this because, it really does hold a mirror up to, contemporary American political divisions. And the picture they're seeing, yeah, it ain't pretty. But you know what is a pretty picture? This movie, because it is beautifully shot. Obviously, it was filmed on VistaVision, which was the same format that was used for The Brutalist. It's been having a bit of a resurgence of recent. And yeah, it paid off. It paid dividends, Because obviously the sort of taller picture works really well in, giving the narrative scope of the film, making it feel like large, but also allows those smaller character moments to feel more intimate as well. And to be fair, it also does just look beautiful, Obviously, there's plenty of interesting texture like green and stuff, but also is incredibly colorful. It is vibrant, rich in contrast. Very much doing away with the sort of washed out, desaturated looks of like contemporary digital cinematography. Particularly in the nighttime scenes in Backtown Cross. Yes, this movie has beautiful looking nighttime scenes where you can actually see things like what the fuck. Yeah, this is like the rare, like big budget contemporary cinema release that actually looks like a movie, and it is gorgeous. But I think what really makes this whole thing work is, fantastic work from its ensemble cast. Obviously, Leonardo DiCaprio is great as Bob. There's some sort of humor to be found in his, out of touch attempts to bond with his daughter and his, bumbling mannerisms. But he's also quite a tragic character who's, trying to be a good father while also living in this, constant state of paranoia. He is great. Sean Penn, on the other hand, as Colonel Lockjaw, holy shit, he is fucking fantastic. Such a horrible character, He does all this macho posturing, but beneath that is, a weird, creepy, and deeply insecure man. And again, the film gets great humor out of that. I also really enjoyed Benicio del Toro as Sensei Sergio. He's this, cool Zen guy, talks a lot about ocean waves and, dishes out wise words like, you know what freedom is? No fear, just like Tom Cruise. He's great, I love Benicio, man. I also very much enjoyed Chase Infinity as Willa. She's driven and resilient, but also has those sort of rebellious teenage instincts that kind of put her into the direct line of danger, and I think she does a great job of it. I also enjoyed Tiana Taylor as Perfidita, Willa's mother, who's a driven revolutionary who sacrifices a lot for the cause. And we also have Regina Hall as Deandra, who is burdened with the knowledge of terrible truth about Perfidita. Everyone here is great, but I think the sort of glue that holds it together is the Bob and Willa relationship. And the sort of like clash in personalities between DiCaprio and Infinity, I think, really, really sells their sort of mismatched relationship. But it also lends the climax some really touching moments because you do buy into their relationship, and it very much is what keeps us invested throughout. It's a climax that also gets in some really exciting twists and turns and a thrilling car chase that feels right out of something like Mad Max Fury Road. It is so fucking good, and I think honestly by the end just kind of solidifies the film as potentially being my favorite of the year. It is fantastic. Overall, One Battle After Another is a gripping, propulsively paced action epic full of timely, frightening messages and fantastic performances. It's a film that hits hard. Out of 10, One Battle After Another gets a 10. So, let me know down in the comments, have you seen One Battle After Another? What did you think of it? What do you think of its Oscar chances? Did you appreciate the film's messages? And would you like to see Paul Thomas Anderson direct more action like this in the future? Let me know all that down in the comments. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload.